TRT will change your life. Even if you're sitting at mid-level of the reference range of total tests, you're like kind of below the middle, but still in range on free tests, and doc thinks you're okay. Getting your testosterone levels up to 1,000, 1,200 is going to like dramatically change your life, right? Testosterone replacement therapy offers the benefit of having more energy, better sexual function, better erectile quality, better libido, more confidence, more strength in the gym, better sleep. I mean, if there's any chemical that like is the major driver of a man's ability to be a solid man, it is testosterone. But there is a subset of individuals for whom testosterone replacement therapy doesn't actually yield the benefits that it should be yielding. And look, estradiol, prolactin, lifestyle, booze, all these things contribute to whether or not you're going to get the benefits, especially relative to libido and sexual function on TRT. But there is also one major glaring inhibitor proven in my client work time and time again of specifically the sexual side of TRT, libido, and erectile quality that I think people are a little biased and just don't want to look at. And that is number one, cigarette smoking. But number two, and I know this is going to hurt, this is going to suck for some guys, vaping in large quantities, right? Just like chain vaping, high quantity nicotine juice in your vape. If you're on TRT and you're not getting erectile or libido benefits, but you either smoke or you high capacity vape, I mean chain vaping, just continuously vaping like high loads of nicotine throughout the day, I'm going to show you some medical literature as well as some anecdotes to convince you that this is the reason that on TRT you're not getting the sexual benefits. All right, before we get into the video, discount codes on product. Look, Cortex Labs is a performance optimization company for men. And we got a wide variety of products ranging from the Torque Nootropic Stack that I built, all day motivation, all day energy, to the Cortex Nootropic Stack, which by the way, right now is buy one, get one free. Okay, potent instant stimulant built by yours truly. Code for that is Cortex BOGO, and you can find the code and the link for this product in the description of this video. If you need help on TRT, nootropics, hormone optimization, dopamine restoration, libido, sexual optimization, those are the things, you can hire me in under a minute, livecortex.com. I've got a bunch of different programs ranging from 1 month, 3 months, 6 months to an entire year working one-on-one with me. All right, so right off the bat, the primary purpose of this video is to tell you that if you smoke cigarettes or if you vape high quantity nicotine, like high capacity nicotine, you're sort of chain vaping pretty consistently with a high nicotine load in your vape juice, and you're on TRT and you're experiencing erectile or libido difficulties, this is almost definitely the reason. So long as estradiol is in range or even a little bit above the range, should be fine for a good degree of men. Prolactin isn't like surging. You're not taking like hardcore serotonergic drugs or, God forbid, DHT inhibitors like finasteride. Then quitting smoking cigarettes or dramatically reducing or switching to vaping, but dramatically reducing the nicotine load that is entering your bloodstream on a given day will dramatically overhaul the sexual system and give you the benefits on the sexual system that TRT should be giving you. On a paper that is titled Cigarette Smoking and Erectile Dysfunction, this is an updated review with a focus on pathophysiology, e-cigarettes, and smoking cessation. And in this review of the literature, basically the abstract, there is a critical sentence here, and it says cigarette smoke contains nicotine, carbon monoxide, oxidant chemicals, and metals that can damage the endothelium and disrupt erectile processes. The fact that, cigarette smoking, both because of the tar, the metals, the oxidant chemicals, the nicotine to an extent, the tar, cigarettes are laced with chemicals. Honestly, one of the most dangerous things you can put in your body. There are actually studies on the cessation of smoking and how that rapidly decreases erectile dysfunction. In this paper, they noted multiple variable studies showed a significant improvement in nocturnal penile tumescence and rigidity in the men who had stopped smoking for 24 hours, just 24 hours. Continued improvement was noted in 4 men who were monitored while not smoking, but still wearing nicotine patches for 1 month. So we're going to get into that. There's actually a study where non-smoking men, okay, so guys that don't smoke and intake nicotine and carbon monoxide and all these different chemicals from cigarettes, were given just nicotine, okay, just nicotine. And nicotine significantly reduced erectile responses to erotic films, okay, so they had them watching probably like 80s retro porn. And this also corresponded with a 23% reduction in physiological sexual arousal. And if you didn't fully understand, look, the link between long-term cigarette smoking and erectile dysfunction is robust and indicates that cigarette smoking is an independent risk factor for introducing vasculogenic impotence. Okay, so that's the bottom line. Cigarettes specifically, and we're going to find nicotine as well, but to an extent. Again, it has to be bolus administration. It does inhibit erectile quality as well as libido. And though it's the carbon monoxide, the oxidant chemicals, the tar, in cigarettes that is causing endothelial disruption, which is narrowing blood vessels and making blood flow a lot harder to the organ. Unfortunately, for those of us that love nicotine, it's also nicotine. Now, the literature on this is actually kind of back and forth, but it does paint a pretty clear picture if you've scoured it enough, in that you're going to find small administrations of, a milligram or two of nicotine, or even a 7 milligram patch, but like just one patch a day for like a couple hours, may dose dependently in an acute period inhibit erectile quality and kind of psychological arousal processes to an extent, but it's dose dependent and depending on how much of a bolus of nicotine you put into the system. Like, I don't get erectile or libido disruption on a 7 milligram patch of nicotine, but I'm not smoking cigarettes all day. And my endothelial system is like not bombarded or insulted by nicotine like all the time. And the reason that this happens is because nicotine's a vasoconstrictor. That's it, guys. It executes a dose dependent, so it'll go away. There's nothing that we know of that people typically engage in that is a irreversible or permanent vasoconstrictor, right? So it's going to go back to normal after you cease the use of nicotine or whatever. But nicotine past a certain threshold. I mean, if you're chain vaping, see, this is the issue with vaping. If you're chain vaping, like I know a lot of people do, and like vape juice apparently comes in different nicotine concentrations. If the nicotine concentration is significantly high, that's going to inhibit erectile function as well as libido. And people think, oh, I'll just switch to cigarettes from cigarettes to vaping. Well, there's this paper here, Association of E-Cigarettes with Erectile Dysfunction, the Population Assessment of Tobacco and Health Study, in which they found the use of ENDS, or electronic nicotine, cigarettes, seems to be associated with erectile dysfunction independent of age, cardiovascular disease, and other risk factors. While electronic cigarettes remain under evaluation for harm reduction and smoking cessation potential, okay, so they're good in that regard, users of such products should be informed about the possible association between e-cigarettes and erectile dysfunction. But what you're going to find is when people switch from smoking cigarettes to vaping, initially there's an improvement in erectile function. Here's a thread that's settled erections and vaping. Does anyone else notice vaping improves their erection, or they end up with a stiffer and more robust erection? What I would look at that and think is it's not vaping that's doing it, it's the cessation of cigarettes that's doing it. And, ultimately a lower nicotine load, lower tar load, lower carbon monoxide load, as well as lower oxidant chemical load. And this guy basically confirms it's more about quitting cigarettes than vaping, in my opinion. But yes, my erections are harder and they do last longer. Another guy, it's TMI Tuesday, so let's talk about a benefit of vaping. Better erections. Goes a bit of a personal note for some, but honestly, I've noticed an increase in quality since I've switched over to vaping. I'm only 2.5 weeks in from quitting analogs, which I'm sure they're referring to cigarettes, but I've seen a noticeable improvement along with breathing, running, etc. Does anyone else notice this, or their significant other? Here's another thread. Unexpected consequence of vaping. I have some anecdotal evidence that most importantly shows the positive change in my cardiovascular system has undergone since I quit smoking, and secondly, makes my wife happier. Turns out my wife says my erections are way harder than when I was a smoker. Guy confirms in the comment section, I had the same epiphany. Harder, longer lasting erections, as well as being able to hit it faster for longer without running out of breath. And then another guy that says, I second this information. Okay, so all over the place, you're going to find people quitting cigarettes and moving to vaping, which ultimately is a less chemical load, carbon monoxide specifically, among other things, but also usually a less of a nicotine load, ends up in significant resolution of erectile issues and libido issues. But here's where the literature just is kind of a little wishy-washy about this. Again, back to this one of the studies on the cessation of smoking and that rapidly decreasing erectile dysfunction. In the end, they go, stopping cigarette smoking is a factor that improves rapidly penile tumescence and rigidity. But because the improvement continues while the patient is receiving nicotine from transdermal patches, some factor or factors other than nicotine are responsible for the erectile dysfunction. Now look, nicotine is a potent vasoconstrictor, so nicotine in and of itself is in a dose-dependent manner causing, let's call it weaker erections. Again, and this all has to do with the amount of nicotine. So again, people switching from cigarettes to vaping, if you get a low nicotine vape juice, I mean, you get like 0.6, like 0.3, just like very low nicotine quantity. Well, then you're going to be substantially better than when you're smoking. And if you're on TRT, you probably get your erections back, your morning wood back, the rigidity back, that thickness back in erections, as well as improvements in libido. But if you were to stop smoking everything entirely, likely what it seems like, looking looking at all the medical literature as well as all the anecdotals, is that it would get better even more significantly. In the Stop Smoking subreddit, there's a thread that is titled Unstoppable Erections. Guy goes, after quitting smoking about 3 months ago with a few slip-ups, I've been having the most raging hard-ons with my partner. I'm normally a get off every 3 days kind of guy, and now I get aggressively big even when we're just kissing. After 2 rounds yesterday and 2 the day before, I'm still popping up to attention immediately while spooning. Believe me or don't, but we've both been pleasantly shocked. Guy confirms, can confirm, I started back smoking, but when I quit smoking and also started working out and eating well, I couldn't keep my man in the home position. I didn't know, blah, 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 blah. He goes, it was almost a so ready it hurts kind of thing. Yeah, look, proper erections, especially on TRT, can hurt. Like the nocturnal ones, like fucking wake you up, dude. It's almost like a mild priapism, like, but that's a good, healthy sign of good quality blood flow, endothelial function, and erectile quality. All right, so what do we have here? All right, we've got long studies, like pretty comprehensive pieces of literature that show us that cigarette smoking, because of all the chemicals in cigarettes, causes erectile dysfunction. We also know that nicotine is a pretty potent vasoconstrictor. It's dose dependent and it doesn't last very long. But if you're constantly sort of chain administering nicotine, then you're probably going to have disruptions in erectile function and libido. We know that people that quit smoking cigarettes and they move to vaping, where we don't know the nicotine milligram concentration of their like vape juice, still have improvements in erectile quality. And we also know that in studies, when men were given transdermal nicotine therapy, but they also quit smoking, erections got better and they continued to get better. So my personal take in scouring all the literature and looking at all the anecdotals is yes, nicotine is a vasoconstrictor and will contribute to erectile dysfunction, but I think there's a threshold. I think if you're running a 7 milligram package of nicotine like once every couple days or even every day, you're probably not going to have inhibition of erectile quality and everything will be fine for you on TRT or not on TRT. But if you're at a nicotine patch and then you're vaping, you get one of these like big vape juice things that's like fucking strawberry flavors, like chain vaping large amounts of nicotine throughout the day, well, that's probably going to contribute to erectile dysfunction. But if it's kind of here and there, or if it's a low quantity nicotine like vape, then you're probably not going to have significant inhibition of erectile quality. But overall, on TRT, there are many things that can inhibit erectile function and libido, and some people will just be like sort of stuck for years, guys, years. You know, they're doing everything they can to keep estradiol in range, and so long as those things aren't crazy and prolactin isn't high, and you're not on like a serotonergic drug or finasteride, like you should be getting, you should be waking up in the morning, you should have nocturnal erections, you should be horny a good degree of the day, you should feel fucking strong, the sexual system should be pretty primed on TRT. You know, assuming you're either running HCG, keeping the testicles functioning, or running kisspeptin or gonadotropin, that part of the system is very important as well. But if all that's correct, you know, and the sexual system still doesn't work, but you're smoking cigarettes, God forbid, or you're high quantity, high capacity vaping, I hope, given all the medical literature as well as anecdotals, that I've convinced you that that is the problem. And you've got to reduce the vaping significantly or knock it out completely. Or if you're smoking cigarettes, you got to get them out and switch to vaping. These suggestions alone will make some guys that are on TRT that are not getting the sexual benefits in terms of erectile quality and libido, finally, after what is in some cases years, get those benefits back. Look, the endothelium and the way that your blood flows through vessels is very fucking important for erectile quality. This is why when guys start doing cardio, specifically running, like walking is one thing, but running is substantially kind of better for the cardiovascular system, people end up with better erections and better libido. You may actually want to look at what most people's contention on erectile dysfunction is, even though hormones influence it to a significant degree, but otherwise it's blood flow, boys, right? It's the endothelium. It's blood vessels. It's how blood can travel. It's PDE5 activity and nitric oxide activity in penile tissues. So if you're a smoker and you're on TRT and you're not getting the benefits, please consider quitting or just switching to a low nicotine, vape situation. And if you're a vapor and you're vaping and you're administering high loads of high capacity or high quantity nicotine, kind of chain smoking throughout the day, and erectile issues are, a problem on TRT, consider lowering it significantly. And I guarantee those issues will resolve. I've seen it in my client work over and over again. And that's what prompted me, like this last one prompted me to make this video. All right, guys, again, 2,500 happy people, 41 biohacking specialties and more as time goes on. If you need to hire me at live livecortex.com, do so. TRT, nootropics, dopamine restoration, hormone optimization, sexual dysfunction resolution, erectile dysfunction resolution. I mean, I'm usually the guy that gets the call when no one else can help somebody, or people are just like fed up, tried everything, and they can't fix their problem. This is what I do, guys. Book me at livecortex.com. This week, probably heading into the weekend, will be the last period of time that the Cortex Nootropics stack is buy one, get one free, all right? Potent instant stimulant that I built myself. It is very, very strong. Code for that is Cortex BOGO. You get a bottle for free per what you buy. Codes and links for everything I'm associated with and all of our products are down in the description of this video. All right, boys, it has been an absolute pleasure hanging out with you. Hope you're having a great day. Hope you have a great week. More content coming soon. Live stream coming this Saturday. Sub to the channel and let's get the discussion going. Guys, if you have something to say about it, please comment in the comment section. Your guys' comments and your guys' input makes this channel and makes the discussion so much better, right? Because people can read your comments and engage in discussion and ultimately have validation of their thoughts or have debates about stuff and ultimately end up on the other side learning more. All right, boys, rock on, kick ass, and I'll talk to you in the next one.